Party crashers, how we doing, everybody? It's good to see you. It's good to be here. I just got back from a very. It was fun. Francesca Hong did a hell of a job. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what Neera Tanden is saying. I think Neera Tanden is full of shit. Uh, I think that it's like this is yeah, see, this is the shit that they're talking about now. It's like the establishment, what the establishment doesn't understand is that, like, every time they win they take this big victory lap, like, oh, we're the real muscle in this thing. It's like, if you have to tell everybody how powerful you are, guess what? You are not that powerful, my friends. You are not that powerful. We know you have the keys to the all the establishment, corporate media. They're gonna write nice pieces about you or whatever, but yeah, I don't know. Hey, what's going on, everybody on Instagram? If you want to come over to our uh, Twitch, we love you. It's easy to sign up. If you don't have a Twitch, I'm actually just gonna put the YouTube here because it's definitely, YouTube is like the thing everybody has. And if you are still watching stuff on your Instagram account, guess what? That is a slot machine. And I'm not saying that. Listen, I'm not saying that YouTube's any better, but it is better than Meta. It's certainly better than TikTok. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing on TikTok anymore. Uh, it's really, that place is fucked. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that here, but join us on YouTube. Join on YouTube. You can win a prize if you want. If you join us on Twitch, you get a prize. My link's in the bio. But say hi. If you're in the chat, say hi to us. We're always looking to have a good time. I know that it's kind of a little slow these days, but yeah, there's many things to talk about on this day. Francesca Hong did lose, unfortunately, which is a bummer. Um, there is obviously this war that we keep having with Iran. I'm pretty exhausted by it. Um, Rare total solar eclipse sweeps across parts of Europe. You know what the thing that's driving me nuts? Eclipsing power. Wow, that's deep. These two fucking idiots. Streaming now on All Access, Civilian or Spy. I really hate the corporate media. Ooh, talks ahead of hastily scheduled hearing. Let's see here. Planned negotiations are ongoing between Luigi Mangione and federal prosecutors to resolve criminal charges. Fuck you. Tied to the fatal shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, people familiar with the matter said. CNN reported that his attorneys previously spoke with federal prosecutors about a potential plea deal, but none was reached at the time. A lawyer for Mangione declined to comment. Oh, here we go. In a statement earlier this summer addressing reported plea talks, Mangione's lawyer, Karen Friedman, it's the only Karen we like, apparently, because, hey, what's going on? If you're joining us on, looks like we got some people on YouTube and a couple on Twitch. Thank you so much for hopping over. If you made your way from Instagram, be sure to say hello. We're going over some of the Luigi Mangione updates. So it looks like information attributed to anonymous sources is part of a troubling, deliberate pattern by prosecutors and law enforcement to prejudice Luigi, manipulate public opinion, and violate his constitutional right to a fair trial and an impartial jury. Every defendant in America is presumed innocent until proven guilty, including Luigi, who, unlike any other defendant, has to fight the same charges twice. She said, we're referring to both the state and federal charges filed against her client. So for those of you who don't know how the supremacy clause works, you can actually be tried by your state for something, and then you can be tried by the federal government for something, which is two different systems, which means that Luigi Mangione is not only facing federal charges, like my friend Kat Abu Ghazaleh faced federal charges. Luigi Mangione is facing federal and state charges, so that's what she means by that. Uh, you know, obviously this is horses of a far different color. Cat was innocent. We don't know what Luigi did or didn't do because we haven't seen the facts of the case. But yeah, this is like a double. He's being double tried here. Obviously, there are a lot of concerned people based on what he did. I am not an advocate for violence of any kind. I believe in a revolutionary optimism. The fuck was that? Oh, I just heard some scary noises in my house. My God, that was terrifying, I swear. So, anyways, there are some powerful people that are very stressed out about all this. No explanation for the conference was included in the letter, but sources say plea talks could be discussed among other issues. Judge set a hearing for Friday. If a proposed federal guilty plea would operate to defeat a just outcome in the state prosecution, the people could advise the federal district court of that consequence, and the court should consider that fact in deciding whether to accept a plea, as well as any opposition by the victim's family to such a resolution. I think this is an interesting predicament we have here with Luigi. It's actually not too dissimilar to what people do in electoral politics. I will explain. But first, sorry everybody, I need to make a bracelet here. I'm making a bracelet. I have this piece of it's like a little thing I got in on the Inca Trail. Luigi wrote that he couldn't have sex because of back pain. That makes him voluntarily celibate incel. Since back pain isn't a choice, the left gets more and more involved with incel culture by the day, especially with Andrew Tate and Sneeko becoming Mom Donnie's biggest allies. Andrew, you have just proved what the left has been saying about the right for probably as long as you've had a YouTube account, which is that every accusation is a confession. So, before I ban you, I just want to encourage you to get out of your room. Hello? And stop being an incel. There you have it, folks. We just banned Andrew for being an incel. No, we didn't ban him for being an incel, but we would if he was an incel. It just sounded like he had a lot in common with. He knew a lot about incels. So yeah. What was I saying before that asshole interrupted me? God, I was cooking. Oh, by the way, we have a very big guest today coming on. Eliana Shania. She's worked for the Young Turks. She's an independent journalist. If you want to support independent media, we do have subscriptions activated on Twitch. I think we have like 3 subscribers now, which is pretty cool. We are also working to monetize our YouTube channel, which has been a long and fruitless struggle, but we are working on it. We got some people supporting us. We're excited about that. But yeah, Luigi. So yeah, what they're doing with Luigi is similar to what they do in electoral politics a lot of times. They're saying that there's a plea deal. The reason why you would say that in a plea deal for somebody who's planning to go to trial is because then potential jurors would see, hey, what's up, Vampy Kato? Appreciate you for coming in and saying hello. You get a prize for that. I'll get you a little prize. We'll get you a prize set up. I love that. Thank you, Vampy Kato. I'm not sure who you are, but yo, thank you, dog. I appreciate you. I don't know who you are, but I'm glad you're here. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do to live, thrive, or survive, baby. You're part of the community now. I know you. All right. Oh, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's definitely, yeah, I definitely know you. What's up, man? It's good to see you. We're talking about how federal prosecutors are using similar tactics to people that. So basically, the federal prosecutors are saying that there's a plea deal because if they do end up having to go to a jury trial, anybody who reads the headline that they're talking about a possible plea deal would think, oh, if he's going to plea, that means he's guilty. That doesn't mean he's guilty. It could mean he's guilty, but if you release that information before there is or isn't a plea deal, you may be tainting a jury pool, which is what Luigi's lawyers are arguing. Now, the reason why that's similar to what we've seen in electoral politics is because I'm going to show you. Actually, I'm not going to show you because I don't want to give them any more free advertising than they already have because they have offered to pay me money, but I do not take it. I've not taken money from anybody that I think is a piece of shit, and I think prediction markets are pieces of shit. So, and there is a lot of people that are getting offered a lot of money to plug prediction markets. But the reason why I'm saying that this is similar to how prediction markets can have an insidious influence on electoral politics is because if, for instance, you were trying to get a group of, say, 18 to 45-year-olds to vote, okay? They are not going to be looking at the poll that Third Way released on CNN.com. No one's going to Google CNN. They're not going to do that. People that Google CNN and go look at polls are like 60, or they are politically, not like, I mean, I like politics, but I used to look at polls all the time, but now not so much. But anyways, young people look at Kalshi and Polymarket to see what things can be predicted. The reason why this is interesting from the context of electoral politics is because you can dump money in Polymarket and change the odds, right? So let's say, for instance, it was a really cold day, okay? And I was a huge AIPAC donor. Let's say AIPAC, for instance. And one day it was really cold, and I knew that candidate supported really young, this young up-and-coming candidate let's just imagine Zoran, right? You want to have a bunch of young people not vote for Zoran? I'll tell you how you do it. First of all, if it's really cold outside and you think people are going to be too lazy to vote, you could either A, make it look like Zoran's a huge favorite to win, like 99% to win on Polymarket. And then you see a bunch of young people, they're going to be like, he's going to win anyways. What does my vote matter? Okay? That's one way to suppress a vote. The other way to do it is the opposite direction. You could put a ton of money on his opponent to win. And if you do that, then they're not going to show up because there's no point to voting because he's going to lose. Now, that's what happens when people look at these prediction markets. The reason why that's insidious is that somebody could say, I don't know, take a bunch of money and completely change the market. Let's just say that there's $200,000 being bet on Zoran Mamdani's election, okay? You could basically put $200,000 on his opponent, and then that would completely change the odds on Polymarket, but in real life it has nothing to do with fact. It just has to do with the fact that the person manipulating the market is trying to make it appear like a fact, which is what Kalshi and Polymarket claim to be as facts. But it's not facts, it's a market. It's just like the stock market. People prop up stocks all the time. And I find it interesting because federal prosecutors are trying to do the same thing to subvert the justice system. I'm not arguing about the morality of what Luigi Mangione may or may not have done. I am not a lawyer. I'm not a philosopher. What I am saying is that if federal prosecutors are preemptively suggesting that there is a plea deal, when in fact there is none, so that jurors think that he would plead guilty and therefore be guilty, that is, like Luigi Mangione's lawyer said, that would be a perversion of justice, because in the United States of America, believe it or not, you are innocent until proven guilty. So, that is kind of an interesting turn of events. It seems like people in power are always doing what they can to give themselves an edge up. That is why I say America is simply a casino. The House has the edge right now. But the good news about all this stuff is that nothing is permanent. Everything is possible, and people are pretty sick and tired of the same old shit. We have a Medicare for All thing from our friends at Perfect Union. Love those guys and gals and non-binary folks. Hey, Policy Goblin, they have some great stuff. No, Perfect Union has a headline here saying Medicare for All would save 114,000 lives and over $1 trillion per year. What's happening? Yale just released a research. $1 trillion. Just to give you an idea, the military budget that's being proposed by the Trump administration, Zionism is the new Nazism. Agreed. Always been a casino with the wealthiest running it. That's right, Hasib. Vampicato, sorry, OPSEC horrible. And Trump is its puppet. Yeah, imperialism is kind of like an extension of Zionism, or Zionism is an extension of imperialism. So I do think that Zionism is fascism because it happens at the expense of someone else. And the only greetings and blessings to you, JP. Yeah, it's pretty sad. Ideologies like that tend to outlive the truth of their true nature, which is crazy because when the truth outs, it always takes a really long time for people to catch up and make something happen. That's really frustrating, and we are still seeing the insidious nature of money in politics, money in imperialism, and just how far they're willing to go in order to maintain power. Not a huge fan of Barack Obama from a political standpoint, but he did say something incredibly insightful about the problems of the world, which is that 90% of them are rooted in the fact there's a bunch of old guys afraid to die. I think that the same can be said for a lot of other problems. A lot of people, I think a couple of those people, one of them is, I think that you can just zoom out and say it's fear. Freely. What up, Sputnik? That's funny. We don't encourage violence on this stream. But, we also encourage the First Amendment. So, hell, pop off, brother. Sister. Non-binary sibling. So yeah, I don't know how the hell we got off the rails. There's a reason that this is called Party Crashers, though. None of it's supposed to make any goddamn sense, because nothing makes any sense anymore. Up is down, whatever. I mean, we're just making it up as we go along. Is anybody looking at their feed and going, "Oh, this makes a lot of sense from a linear storytelling standpoint"? Hell no, it's stream of consciousness shit. That's the whole game, Ooh, Donald Trump was secretly moved over an alleged assassination threat. Were journalists left behind as unwitting decoys? Probably. Everybody, this is literally the headline for the entire fucking administration. We're all being left behind as unwitting decoys for all of his shit. That's the thing. People say Trump is a fascist. He happens to have a lot of fascistic tendencies, but really all Trump is a Trumpist, okay? That's why I'm absolutely fucking terrified that Democrats are going to run some like milquetoast, Gavin Newsom, fucking Kamala Harris, like, hey, let's give a small business tax credit to anybody under the age of 69 so that they can get 20% off their first diaper purchase. Medicare for all. Money out of politics and into your pockets. If a candidate for 2028 cannot give me their campaign speech in a Post-it note or less, I don't trust them, period. Okay? So if we run some shitty candidate that doesn't have like a very clear, concise message to the American public, I'm terrified of what Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene are going to come up with in order to tap into everybody's resentment in the post-Trump era. Because it's pretty obvious to all of the people that voted for Trump, whose lives he ruined, and us, that this guy sucks. So now it's like we need to come up with a thesis statement that taps into the anger and outrage of the American people, but instead of aiming it at the most marginalized people in society, we need to aim it at the most powerful people in society, a.k.a. the wealthy, a.k.a. corporate interests. Otherwise, it's going to get really bad. Shit's fucked. We got a lot of problems to solve. No, we have one problem to solve, Vampicato. It's very simple. We have to figure out a way. See, the people in charge are afraid. I'm not just saying they're afraid of us. I'm saying that they are fearful people. They are scared. Something happened to them back in the day and they were hurt, or they hurt somebody, or they're just sociopaths. Either way, they think that the only way to maintain power is to be afraid. They're afraid. They never feel like there's enough of anything for them. So they need more money. They need more land. They need to kill more people. It's awful, awful stuff. These are the people in charge. What we need is people that lead with love, not fear. Okay? We need people that are building community. We need people that are building community. We need values, not value. Okay? This is a values-based community. So if you come into the chat and you're somebody who's like, hey, you know, I voted for Trump 16 times and I think he's the greatest president ever, I'm going to say, okay, tell me why. And then they're going to say a bunch of shit that's wrong. And then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to say, okay, that's wrong. What do you think about corporations? And they're like, well, you know, they suck. Then I'm going to say, okay, so we agree that corporations suck. So really you voted for Donald Trump because Democrats suck. What if I told you there are candidates that also think corporations suck with a D in front of their name? And then I show them a clip of Bernie Sanders. There are so many Bernie Sanders Trump voters, it's insane. It's like Zoran Trump voters. There's a lot of Trump voters that are just poor white people that are angry. And so Trump gave him somebody to blame, and it happens to be the most marginal people in society. And yes, racism is awful, and it needs to be dealt with, and there is zero tolerance for that shit. So, but I also think that if we talk to those people and we're like, hey, the same people are screwing all of us over, and that's the richest people, you know? I looked at the electoral map of, I've looked at some electoral maps, and I've seen a lot of poor communities coming out for candidates that want to build data centers. And, you know, what the fuck? Like, I live in Chicago. I live on the Great Lakes. There's this quantum data center being built. It is being built with the blessing of J.B. Pritzker. It is being built in South Shore, which is an underserved community on the south side of Chicago. It's actually where there was an ICE raid in an apartment building that was called in by a slumlord so that they could evict the tenants after the ICE raid. That's where they're building this quantum computing data center. And they're doing it with the cooperation and coordination of the Israeli government so they can develop military technology and use the fresh water from Lake Michigan to cool these stupid data things. It's like, we don't need no stinking data centers, man. What we need is to go outside, touch some grass, meet some people, you know, have a good time. And then we're all going to, you know, I'm not saying we're all going to play Kumbaya and shit, but like, no one wants more AI. Stop trying to sell me AI. It's just like Internet Explorer. Remember Internet Explorer when you would try and go on like Firefox or something and then on a Windows computer and or Chrome, and it would be like, do you want to make Internet Explorer your default browser? No, I don't want to make it my default browser. It's shit. It's shit, and so is AI. I don't need you to help me write an email. I'm sorry. I don't need you to help me write a fucking email. I don't need your help for anything, okay? If I can look at my calendar, okay? I don't need you to give me a summary of all my emails. I'll just read them, and if they're too long, I won't fucking read it. It's not that hard, okay? It's a bunch of shit that people are shoving down our throats that we don't want. This is like quintessential fucking capitalist slop. Like late stage crony capitalism, not capitalism in its truest sense, because if the market actually fucking decided things, then no one would want AI. No one would want it. I'm going to pull up a picture here. I just Googled my first name. That was stupid. I want to pull up a picture of Steve Jobs, okay? Because this is one of the most fucking celebrated people in American history for the worst reasons humanly possible. Because he's an idiot. He was an idiot, okay? Like, yeah, he was a visionary and all this shit, but I'll tell you about Steve Jobs, okay? Steve Jobs, what most people don't know about Steve Jobs, oh, it looks like the picture's in the way. But hang on a second. Visit. I just want to have it. Okay, here we go. $7 billion this guy was worth when he died, okay? Let me tell you about Steve Jobs, all right? Steve Jobs invented the iPhone, and he said this is going to be the greatest tool of the 21st century. And he was right. He did invent it. But here's the thing about Steve Jobs. He didn't invent it for people. He invented it for himself because he had a hard time having relationships with people, okay? There's a great Alex Gibney documentary. He directed the documentary about Scientology. He's done a lot of other documentaries. It's called Steve Jobs, A Man Behind the Machine, okay? And unlike Walter Isaacson's puff piece, fat-ass book that you can read for $35 on Amazon, this documentary explored who Steve Jobs was as a human being. And let me tell you something. Wasn't a great guy. Hey, what up, gangsters? Miss you guys. I'm back at my 9 to 5, hiding in the break room currently, LOL. Glad to see you, Chance. Thanks for popping in. Glad that you're taking some time off the 9 to 5. If anybody has any, $5 a month and wants to subscribe or gift a subscription, if you have Amazon Prime, you can gift us a subscription. We are an independent media company. So, the DNC hasn't written us a check for $20 million. If they did, then this show would suck ass. But we're talking about how Steve Jobs was a sociopath, Chance. So, Steve Jobs was a sociopath, though. His father abandoned him and his mother early on, much like Jeff Bezos, which we can talk about some other time, because Jeff Bezos' dad was an alcoholic unicyclist who abandoned his mother. These guys all have daddy issues. And Steve Jobs just poured himself into his work. And actually, he wanted to be a Buddhist monk at one point, which is interesting because he always kind of had this like Eastern aestheticism, or I don't know what ism it is, but like he was always very like philosophical, and people were like, "Oh, he's so deep. He's such a beautiful soul." But there's this thing in the Buddhism in this movie that they explain called the golden chain, which is basically like you take these like Buddhist philosophic principles and you use it to inflate your own sense of self and ego, which is like the opposite of the whole point of the thing. And that was kind of the thesis statement about Steve Jobs, you know? He was kind of this guy who basically was just like, hey, I'm really good at figuring out what people want in their hands. So he was this brilliant guy who like designed all this stuff that we touch and use all the time. I love Apple. I think it is well designed. And I know for a fact that Steve Jobs didn't give a shit if I liked it or not. Steve Jobs liked it because he liked it. And Steve Jobs created something subconsciously that he knew would move people do what he did, which was he just extricated and avoided people his entire life. And he created these things that we carry around now, which, hey, I got a phone. In a lot of ways, it's a modern miracle. But, it's it's one of the things that it's one of the things that got us to where we are as a society, right? How do you create misinformation? Well, you got to make sure everybody sees it, and you need a whole lot of it. So if you give everybody a camera and on their phone, which means that they are inextricably linked to something, then they're going to create whatever you want them to, and that's what they did. That's what the fascists understand, that the left understands it, but the establishment Democrats don't. That makes sense. Perverting Buddhist principles for profit. I mean, I like having a phone too. That's interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. Because the other thing is too, is that like Steve Jobs was very like anti right to repair. Like the real genius behind Apple was Steve Wozniak. He created the Apple II computer, which basically a computer that you could just continue to repair and fix and upgrade throughout its life cycle. And Steve Jobs really hated that. He really hated that users could have autonomy, because Steve Jobs was obsessed with the idea that he was right and everybody else was wrong. So giving somebody the creative freedom, I was just popping in back to work for me. Have a great day, everybody. Steve, you kick ass. Thank you so much, Chance. I appreciate you. You don't know how much your support means. Get back to the job. Do your thing. You're always welcome here. Congrats on getting a job, even though jobs suck. Don't forget to skip or take some breaks and join us. Say hello. We love seeing you. If you're a member of this community, we are small. We are mighty. Tell a friend about us. I got a lot of followers on Instagram, but not a lot of followers in the streaming world. I'm new here, but I have been talking into mics for quite some time, so I'll never shut up. But, so Steve Jobs gave everybody an iPhone, and we all know how that story turned out. The interesting thing is that they happened to democratize storytelling, which was pretty hard to get into. It was hard to break into telling a story before everybody got a smartphone. And now I think what we're seeing is that, like, the establishment no longer controls the means of dissemination with information. So you have a choice. If somebody, if you want to tell stories for a living, you can go through the usual means. You can go as if you're a comedian. You could, there's nothing wrong with this. There are people that just want to write for Jimmy Fallon. That's what they want to do. They want the 401k. They want to be doing that. And then there are people that just go out and they're like, you know what? Screw it. I got a phone. It's like people who want to write for Marvel, or Kane Parsons, who just shot Backrooms and said, hey, I got a phone. Yes, Party Crashers is better than the MSN. Then I watched the Tremors, weird film. I watched a strange Japanese film on YouTube called Butt Blasters. It was weird. Oh, that sounds like a fun one. Party Crashers is better than the mainstream media. Thank you, Vampy Kato. But I mean, Steve Jobs kind of gave us all a gift he didn't realize he was giving us, which is he was obsessed with control, and the people in power used our phones to control us. They're using it to disseminate information. They're using it to pick up our behavior and our patterns. And what Steve Jobs did, though, is he accidentally accelerated our path to being, I don't like saying like free, but being kind of like more aware of what's going on, you know? It's like, it's really hard for somebody to say, hey, this cop didn't murder somebody when you can see the footage because there are 50 people filming it. I mean, we saw what happened. We're seeing what's happening in Gaza because of our phones. Like, they can't tamp down information anymore because they have given everybody a voice. And that's the whole point of what we're doing here is we want to make sure that those stories get told. And we want to make sure that we also want to make sure that people are able to just come hang out and have a good time. You know, I felt like whenever I was doing a lot of the stuff you see me doing on stream right now, I'm making a bracelet. I like to make different bracelets depending on when things happen. Just kind of change it up, different feeling. And so I do that a lot. Yeah, it's kind of funny because like they worked so hard to make sure that we didn't know what was going on. And then they ended up accidentally giving us the tools we needed to figure it out, which I think is pretty much kind of that's kind of the most ironic thing about my lifetime is that 15 years ago, if you told me that when I was sitting in college, like skipping classes to watch movies that like, hey, you could just go out and like direct a movie if you want, like with your phone, you'll be able to do that. I'd be like, you're crazy. No way. But now I can do it. I don't want to direct a film, but I mean, look at us now. We're all talking here. You could be anywhere in the country. You could be anywhere in the world right now, and you could be watching this stream if you had a VPN, and it's so easy and so accessible. And I realize not everybody has access to these resources, which is also a problem, but we're working on it. We're going to get there. And, yeah, I think Steve Jobs, in a lot of ways, kind of he helped create the situation we're in. He helped accelerate it by giving everybody a smartphone. And at the same time, it also accelerated our path to the solution because things got bad, so quick that, yeah, it's just an interesting time to be alive. The plot is thickening. Sometimes I think I've made a huge mistake for one reason or another. If you ever think that you've made a huge mistake, don't ask why, ask how. That's what we say on this podcast. This is iced coffee, by the way. For those of you who are watching and wondering why this glass is so cloudy, this is the only plastic cup I have in my disposal right now. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. I was talking about how, right now, like, I was thinking about how the other day, I'm like, man, I'm going all in on comedy, all in on streaming. What are you thinking, dude? What are you thinking? And then I was thinking, what does it fucking matter? In 50 years, if we don't make some big changes to the way our society is run, and we don't build the kind of society that we want, we're all fucked. I hate to break it to you, but it doesn't matter who's got the most money in their 401k if global warming is a thing. Okay? It doesn't matter how much credit card debt you have if the planet is melting. So there's that. But also, there's a sense of kind of liberation in that fact, much in the same way that if you talk to people that are kind of with it, and at least in my opinion, they always have a healthy sense of their own mortality, which I think is important. I think everybody should just like wake up every day, think about just being grateful. You're like, oh yeah, I get to do this again, even if it's tough. Like, because there are still moments of beauty. I would argue that the moments of beauty exist in the worst times because you're so acutely aware of the pain you're going through that you're constantly in search of a solution. And when you're in pain, it feels like you need a solution from wherever it can get. So you're kind of more in tune with what's going on around you. It kind of makes you present in ways that being happy doesn't. That's the thing. That's the thing we shoot for on Party Crashers. We don't go for happy, we go for content. Okay? Because you can be content no matter your situation. But you can only be happy based on what happens to you. And listen, I've met people that have gone through and survived or are currently surviving horrible, horrible things. I've lived a blessed life. My God, am I grateful. And the people that were going through the most stuff tend to be the people that were the kindest to me when I needed it. And I think you will find that to be the case. That's why if you ever want to help, I forgot who said it. It might have been John Steinbeck, who wrote Grapes of Wrath. He said, if you ever want help, look for a poor person. They're going to help you out. Rich people? Nope. I was talking to my friend. They worked in museums. We were talking about the decolonization movement in museums, which is important because there's a lot of different things that happen in the art space. And we were talking about, for those of you who don't know who Jean-Michel Basquiat is, one of my favorite artists. Let's see if I can find a picture of him. So this is Jean-Michel Basquiat. Here's a picture of him with there he is. Okay. Graffiti artist turned painter, became the star of the 1980s New York art scene. He died at age 27. He died, I think, in the early 90s. But Jean-Michel Basquiat grew to prominence in the New York art scene, I think, in the 1980s, because he was like a street artist. Hi, best buddy. Start panting like a dog. Hey, Jacob, thanks so much for coming in. If you come to Twitch and you subscribe, we can talk about what I can and can't do. But I'm not going to pant like a dog. I told you, if you want to do that, you got to go to OnlyFans and go to Nigel Farage's account. I'm pretty sure he'll do that kind of thing for you pretty cheap. But I'm glad you're here, even though you're being hurtful. That's okay. You're probably upset. But we're talking about art here today, and everybody is welcome to talk about art as long as they don't hurt other people. So maybe reframe your little entry jab at me. I don't like being told to pant like a dog. In fact, in high school, I got bullied, and somebody called me Dogface, which was very mean and hurtful. But I'm over it. I know I don't look like a dog. I know I look like Patton Oswalt if he was on Ozempic, and I have to live with that. But I'm going to get back to Jean-Michel Basquiat. So Jean-Michel Basquiat, graffiti artist, street artist. He was painting on subways, subway cars. He would have these little limericks, very deep, kind of really cool work. And one day, he was walking around in a restaurant in New York. And he was trying to sell little postcards he had painted. And he ended up trying to sell a postcard to Andy Warhol. And Andy Warhol saw his work and immediately recognized his genius. Very unique style. You can see some of his work behind him. And Warhol kind of took him under his wing and got him his start. And I have a complicated relationship with Andy Warhol. I really don't know enough about him to make an informed decision, but I get the sense that he was very much like a Jeff Koons type, very much like in it for the money, you know. I think he actually told Donald Trump at a party, at least in that show, The Apprentice, he said that making money is a kind of art unto itself, which it's not. But, you know, the reason I'm bringing up Basquiat is because I was talking about this idea of decolonializing artistic spaces. And it's, you know, because art is basically just now, it's so expensive and so inaccessible that it's basically just become a way for rich people to store value and to avoid paying taxes. So the fact that Jean-Michel Basquiat's paintings are selling for $50 million. I mean, if you think about a painting, what's the first thing you think of? Do you think of how it makes you feel? Do you think of how it makes you look? I do. There are paintings I have seen in person, works of art I've seen in person, or just even on the internet. Somebody showed it to me in a book. I think of what I felt when I saw that thing for the first time. There's this piece of art by a woman. I don't remember her name, but it says the meaning of life is that it stops. That's the phrase that was written around this kind of mixed media. I'll have to find the piece sometime. But I think about art and I think about how it makes me feel. I call it the goosebump test. And it's not just art either, politics, whatever happened to be watching or doing. If I get goosebumps, it's usually a sign that I'm about to feel something. And I've been in galleries where I felt something, and not just like rich and famous galleries either, like normal galleries. But every time like the general public sees a piece of art, they hear about how much it costs at auction, which is fucking gross. Okay? And the fact that Jean-Michel Basquiat, who is basically living in abject poverty, trying to support himself with his wares, is his art is now being used to launder rich people's money. Sorry, we have a very special guest coming on. Oh, I just found out Twitch is using our content to train generative AI, which is on behalf of Amazon. So that's great. Thanks Twitch. I'm so happy. Thank God. Jesus, it's exhausting. Anyways, art. People use it to launder money. They use it because it's a store of value. You don't have to. You can buy a painting. You don't have to sell it. You can donate it to a museum. You can lend it to a museum. People lend it to a museum. That's why you always see rich people's names next to art. And if you do that, it's a tax write-off. So it's all this bullshit, man. It's all just bullshit. And the fact that Jean-Michel Basquiat was this guy who worked his ass off and dedicated himself to making sure that nobody would. It's just gross, man. It's gross. People take their art, they put it in these like airport hangars. So if you've ever seen the movie, what's it called? Tenet. They go and raid this place. It's at an airport because if you keep something in a port, you don't have to pay taxes on it. Oh, meaning of life is that it stops is a Kafka quote. Yeah, there is a piece of art that somebody made that tracks. Kafka was cool. He died at 29, nobody having known his name. And Basquiat was pretty. I think Basquiat did become famous before he died, but like he OD'd, and it's really sad because like I know that he would not want to be somebody that rich people used to launder money. It's really gross, and it's just so fucking lame. Everything is so lame. It's like now I'm like looking on Twitch to opt out of it being using this stream that I'm using now. They want to use it to train AI. It's like great. This is exactly what I needed to do today. Sorry everybody. We have a guest coming on anyways, so in about 20 minutes, so I'm just going to take some time here to make sure that my AI is not being used. My account is not being used for AI. But if you're here in the chat, come say hello. We do not monitor our chats on Meta platforms. We also do not go live at all on TikTok because it's basically just QVC run by Larry Ellison for fascists. It's not fun. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. Opt in to train generative AI. Well, that's good. At least I opted out of it. Jesus, it's so exhausting. I feel like my entire life is just opting out of shit and requesting passwords. Do I want a two-factor authentication code? Sure, I do. Another one. Send me more. Please. I need a wall to plug in my phone. I need a two-factor authentication code. I need, what else do I need? What else do they tell me I need? I need to make sure that AI is teaching me how to cook a fucking egg. God. It's so exhausting. Everything is all fucking money all the time. I get it. Okay? This is how the boomers made their billions, you know? But is it really necessary all the time? Can I just have like 15 minutes where I go outside and walk down the street and there's like trees and somebody's not trying to sell me something? Ugh. It's gross. But the good news is that the worse it gets, the faster we'll get out of it. So that's what gives me hope, people. Is that if you're as miserable as I am, you're probably not as miserable as I am. I have a unique ability to create misery for myself. But that's a me problem, not a you problem. I try to channel it into something creative, not destructive. But gosh, it's exhausting. You know, today, yeah. So I was talking to my friend about these museums. They use them to launder money. It's a bunch of it's kind of like politics. It's like a bunch of rich people just talk about stuff in ways that like normal people can't understand. And then normal people try and interact with it in normal ways and they get judged sometimes. That's why this particular person had a very interesting role at the museum, that they worked out, which was to help regular people interact with art. So they would let kids come in and like paint on the floors in this modern art gallery, and like, you know, it kind of bridged the gap between the art and like actual people, which is cool. And that's kind of a cool thing. Like it's cool that there are people that think like that outside the box. There are people that understand that really this whole entire thing is about people. There was this thing called the Citrini Research Memo. It came out. I think it was in March. And basically, it was funny because I was having this conversation with a bunch of people that work on Wall Street, who I'm no longer associated with, mashallah. And they were talking about how like AI is so great and it's going to make everybody so much money because it's going to lower costs. And I just said, yeah, what happens when it replaces everybody's job? And they said, well, what do you mean? I was like, who's going to buy anything? Who is going to buy anything? They said, what are you talking about? That's crazy. I said, no, it's not crazy. Because AI is going to lower costs, right? That's what's going to happen. It's going to lower costs. What's the biggest cost? Anybody in the chat know? What's the biggest cost that gets in the way of profit? I'll give you a hint. Somebody's got to make the shit. That's people. People are labor. That's why the labor movement is not about labor. It's about people. It's about people. And so if they're obsessed with profits and they get rid of all the labor, guess what happens? The labor are people. So who's going to buy shit? Nobody. And I had said this. Somebody got really upset that I said it because it seemed crazy at the time. And then 3 months later, somebody who works in Wall Street wrote a research paper with the same hypothesis. The NASDAQ went down 3.5% in one day because no one on Wall Street had thought about the long-term ramifications of artificial intelligence. Listen, if somebody is rich, it doesn't mean they're right. It just means they're rich. If somebody's a politician, it doesn't mean they're qualified for their job. Don't inherently accept the qualifications of anybody based on what they say, what they wear, how they say it, or how much money they have, period. Don't listen to me either. You shouldn't listen to anybody except yourself and people you care about. It's not about never meeting your heroes. You should love your heroes. It should be your friends. It should be your family. It should be people that you know and shake hands with and have real relationships with. Because anybody you see on a fucking screen, They have their own lives and their own problems, and they've hurt people and they've helped people and they've done a whole multitude of things, including, now I'm not saying you shouldn't look to people as examples or agree with their philosophy, but there's like, it's like different, you know? It's kind of like Chuck Schumer, right? Like Chuck Schumer is kind of like larger than a human being at this point. He's a brand, you know? It's like, buy a pair of Nikes. I support Chuck Schumer. It's like a brand. It's like, you know, you buy a pair, you know, so it's like, yeah. And there are some great people who have accomplished a lot who are great people in real life. And there's a bunch of people that suck, that hung out with Jeffrey Epstein and his friends, or do some shit like launder their money through fucking art. The idolization of anybody is terrifying, but it always happens because it's easier to sell something to people if a person is selling it. Which is why, like, Reese Witherspoon and Demi Moore being like, AI is inevitable. We need to embrace it. You know, Jeff Bridges went on some fucking podcast with Theo Von. He's like, man, AI is changing everything, dude, in Nashville. They're making tapes and mixing things, and it's like going to change the world. It's like, what the fuck are you on about, man? You worked in movie sets. There are 150 people behind you that made that movie work. It's so disappointing. Like, what's his name? Martin Scorsese. He did the same thing. He said, I can't wait for AI. I'm partnering with an AI company to help me make my movies the way I want to, alone in a room. Dude, that's not the point of movies. The point of movies is not for your personal aggrandizement. And, you know, he even went on to say, Scorsese went on to say, he was like, oh, well, you know, AI is great when you're making movies because you can just do it alone in your room. It's awesome. Fine, dude. Go play Minecraft. Don't make a fucking movie. You could literally do that in Red Dead Redemption. There are people that do that. There's a whole fucking team of people that made GTA 5. They made a Hamlet in Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, cool. The internet's been doing that for like 15 years, Marty. But what you're saying is that the medium that gave you everything you have and all of the teams that helped make those movies happen, they were expendable. That all of this was just to serve you. And so now that there is a tool that allows all of the people who supported you in the movie industry to extricate them from that process, you're okay with it. That's why the celebrity worship shit has got to go. It's got to go. It's got to go because now they hawked crypto. Now they're hawking AI. It's because at the end of the day, if you get rich and famous enough, you're going to have fucking mortgages to pay. Okay? You get rich and famous enough, you spend the money on shit that you want or you think you need. And then what ends up happening? Well, I got a house in Bermuda. I got a house in the Bahamas. I got a house in Malibu. I got a house in New York. I got a penthouse in New York. And then it's like one day you're like, oh, well, I'm not getting as many acting roles as I used to. And like, hey, I'm not shaming anybody who gets paid to do their art. Not at all. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you should get paid a lot more. And if you have to take money from artificial intelligence and crypto companies so that you can maintain your lifestyle, like, how much more money do you need? How much more money do you need, and why do you need it? Sell a fucking house. Don't sell your soul. I was so sad when I saw Martin Scorsese and Jeff Bridges and all these people whose work I really admire and respect come out and say, hey, you know the existential threat facing film and television and art? We're for it. Come on, bro. It's like fucking, I don't know. It's like Picasso voting for Terminator or something. I don't even know how to characterize that betrayal. It's stupid, though. And listen, I'm not saying that, like, people shouldn't do commercials. Like, I've read for Oracle commercials. I don't know what I would do if I got offered that job, to be honest with you. It would be a lot of money that I need. But that's just me being an actor. That's different than me using my personal brand to hawk Larry Ellison products, which is fucked up. Like, I don't know. I've seen like left podcasters that are like, oh yeah, now we're partnered with Oracle. And it's like, what? Why would you want to partner with those fucking guys? They literally destroyed 60 Minutes, among many other things. They fund the IDF. Like, what? I don't know. It's a pretty disappointing place when you let it be. But the cool thing is, and this is kind of one of the, like I said about pain. Pain can be a good teacher, but it can also help you really, really appreciate good stuff and stuff that's helpful. And I find that, like, in all of the horrible shit that's happened in the last, basically since I was born, like, I have seen people time and time and time again always choose, not always, but most of the time, regular people always choose to help regular people, no matter what. No matter what. That's why my favorite quote from Lord of the Rings is from the movie The Hobbit, which was a very bad 3 movies, but no judgment to Peter Jackson. Well, actually, now Peter Jackson's using AI, so I don't know. I think I got to judge him the same way I judge Martin Scorsese, which is... if you look at Peter Jackson's first movie, you can see he was an indie filmmaker, and he was like... Nah, it's so fucking sad, man. But yeah, Gandalf says in The Lord of the Rings, Galadriel asks him, like, why do you choose the hobbits? And he says, the reason I choose the hobbits is because I don't believe great power defeats evil. I believe it's small, everyday deeds, common acts of kindness that is what keeps evil at bay. And that motherfucker is right. That motherfucker is right. Gandalf is right, dude. You know? It's the little shit that counts. It's the little shit that adds up. You know? It's the little stuff that adds up. And that's the thing, man. That's the thing. The Democrat comes on. They're like, I have $50 million and we're going to beat Trump. I'm like, all right, you're full of shit. But if a Democrat comes on stage and says, hey, I started a mutual aid office in my campaign office. All right. I'm going to listen to what you have to say because you're letting the community come in. And not only are you listening to their problems, helping them solve them, you're solving their problems. That's why art, like, you know, people that just do art because it you know, I don't know. It's fucking gross, though. This whole AI thing, it's like a perfect storm, really. We have this, like, perfect storm of horrible circumstances that we're facing right now. And it's crazy because a lot of people say, well, every time there's been like a movement in this country, grassroots, pro-labor, pro-people movement, they've lost. They always say they've lost. And I don't know, I'm not part of any movement. I just have, my friends and I are moving. We're hanging out, we're doing stuff we believe in with each other. It's fun. I don't know what, I don't know. I've tried to join a lot of different things. It never really worked out. But I'm a good follower. I'm a good follower, though. And if I believe in a cause with people who have the same values as me, I'm with it. My values are very easy. Comfort the afflicted, afflict the comfortable. Leave it better than you found it. And I have a third value, which is that punch up, be honest and unmerciful. And then my fourth value is that you have to have a code. But so yeah, when I see people doing shit like that, like normal people stepping up and being like, "Hey, you know, we can fix this thing." Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If you want to make a movie, you want to run for office, you want to produce an album. People who are like, "Yeah, no, we can do this in my backyard. Let's fucking do it, man." Or whatever. It's not that hard. Yeah, you fuck with that. I know you fuck with that because I fuck with you, man. Let's go, bro. That's why people who are dunking on Francesca Hong right now are fucking ops. They're all ops. It's literally a single mom who started a business that didn't work out and said, I'm going to run for governor. And she did. And everybody with a deep fucking checkbook shit their pants for months. And yeah, Crowley won. Big fucking deal. Who? It's like Corey Bush and Jamal Bowman. I know who they are because of the fact that they quote unquote lost. They didn't lose. Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, Nita Alam, all of those people, they didn't lose. That's why Dalton Trumbo, the writer from the 1950s during McCarthyism, that's why they made a biopic about him and not Elia Kazan, who ratted on him. It's because those people all stand on their values. They said, fuck it, you can take my job, but you can't take what I believe in, right or wrong. You got to respect that. You got to respect that. Yeah, why not? I'm with it, Nick. Sorry for the L, but I'm sure you went out and voted yesterday. Thank you. That's what it's about, man. Stand on business. That's it. Oh, I'm tired. We got our guest. I think she's running late. I'm gonna let's see what's going on here. I'm so hungry. I gotta get something to eat. Ooh, I got friends coming for dinner. Hang on a second. Thank you everybody for being patient. Oh, what a night. It's pretty unfortunate. I really wanted Francesca Hong to win. She did not, but it doesn't matter because she already won because she put on one hell of a campaign. And that's what I was saying earlier is that like people are like, oh, there hasn't been a pro-labor movement that won. Yeah, there has. Of course there has. There hasn't been a pro-labor movement that lost. Do you think we got the 5-day work week because labor lost? No. We got it because labor won. Because even though they defeated labor, the establishment realized that they had shifted the Overton window so far that they were screwed unless they passed it. And that's what happened. That's what's going to happen with all this other shit too. These candidates, I hope Crowley's like, hey, I'm going to start a mutual aid hub in my campaign office. I'm going to fight for Medicare for all. You know? He could be that guy. We shift the Overton window, people. We shift the Overton window. We do not let them dictate the tempo of the conversation, period. That's what they want you to let them do. They want you to go to work and they want you to feel afraid to take sick time. That's what they want you to do. They don't want you to watch a stream at work. But guess what? You can do whatever you want. Maybe not if you have kids. Maybe if you got a responsibility to someone else. There are things you can't do because you have responsibility to people that you love, which is great. You should always put the people you love first. And you should also love yourself and put yourself first because you can't take care of the people you care about if you're not taking care of yourself. Now, I realize that's not realistic for people, and this comes from a great place of privilege. But we're never going to have a better society unless we create one for ourselves. There's no love in business. There's no love in business. You're right, Kie. You're absolutely right. There is no love in business. What there is fear. They want you to be afraid to communicate your needs. They want you to feel like you're not enough and that you need to buy something to be enough. That's it. But you are enough. You have enough. Maybe you don't, but let's get you enough. I spent so much time and money worrying I wasn't enough. And that if I wasn't enough, I would never have people that care about me. But then you realize, like, oh, you got to care about yourself first. And not like in a like self-care, let's do a skincare routine way. It's just like, nah. It's just like, hey, talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. Start there. What do you think Donald Trump says to himself? Do you think he's kind to himself? No. That's why he's mean to everybody else. Because his internal monologue reminds him how inadequate he is every fucking day. He literally just steps on rakes and tells people how great he is. Because inside of himself, he is saying the shit, the stuff that I could make fun of Donald Trump on, there is nothing that would hurt him and humiliate him as bad as the thing that's happening between his ears. He's got no kindness. I don't feel bad for him. I think he's a piece of shit. I think all these fascists are pieces of shit. But I understand them. It's your responsibility as a human being to figure out a way to support yourself so that you can support others. That's it. People say, oh, people are inherently greedy. No, they're not. You're inherently greedy. You're fucking greedy because you chose a long time ago to make a lot of money. That's it. Period. End of sentence. There's nothing wrong with it, except you're hurting people. Fucking tired, man. Fucking tired of all of it. And I'm tired of all of the fucking people on TV that tell us this is all normal. That the biggest thing we need to be worried about is the reflecting pool disaster. And shout out to the Olympic canoeist who was just recently acquitted. But like, people are being wrongfully accused of charges far more serious at the federal level. Innocent people. And there's not an ounce of coverage on ABC Nightly News. Why not? Well, it's because ABC, they get their money. They have shareholders, and the shareholders have other stocks too, So they get to vote, and, it's editorial independence. My ass. Is it? It's literally, with what's happening in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Ukraine, and Sudan, and the Congo, and all those places, their top story is about a $14 million fuck-up for a monument in Washington, D.C. that's best known because of the movie Forrest Gump. And I'm sorry, monuments are lovely. They're very important. But you know what else is important? The thing that the monument was built for, which is to honor the accomplishments of people that actually got shit done. And if you think your job is to report on the reflecting pool scandal of 2026, if you're a journalist and you're like, this is hard-hitting news, baby, I'm going to win a fucking Pulitzer for this guy, you fucked up. It's not a real story unless the amount of money starts with a B, billion. Trillion, that would be a good one. Why don't you start with the $1.5 trillion military budget that the Republicans are trying to pass, and some Democrats are helping them out. And they're supposed to be the party of fiscal responsibility. And the Democrats have let them run away with that narrative. $1.5 trillion. You know how much inflation that's going to cause? That's going to cause a lot of inflation. But for whatever reason, Republicans don't talk about inflation when it comes to expanding the military budget. You notice that? Democrats never use that argument either. They never say, hey, we're going to have to print $1.5 trillion, which means the price of your fucking groceries is going to go up. Also, of that $1.5 trillion, we're giving $600 million to Israel so that we can help develop military technology with them. And you know who Israel is going to use that military technology on? Their fucking neighbors. And you know who their neighbors are? Countries that produce oil that we are still heavily reliant on because of the oil lobby. And you know what those fucking neighbors are going to do as soon as they start getting bombed by Israel with the $600 billion we gave them for their military technology? They're going to raise the price of oil, which means your grocery prices are going up. So not only are you going to get screwed because you've printed more money, which means the money in your pocket is worth less, you're also going to get screwed because the price of all of your goods are going to go up. Now, that is a story I would have liked to have seen on ABC Nightly News. I have a camera. I'm sitting in a basement right now with a bunch of dumb shit behind me, which I love because it's a lot of it's pictures and it all has meaning. But like, why am I fucking talking about that story? About a $30 t-shirt at a dive bar in Madison, Wisconsin. Shout out to Mickey's, best bar I've been to in quite some time. Had a beer over there, nice staff. But the $30 t-shirt was not cheap. I'm wearing a $30 t-shirt, and I'm telling you about the implications of Section 219 in the NDAA. Why do I have to know about this shit? I'll tell you why. Because the people who are supposed to, they make too much of that 1.5 trillion. And sure, I'm not saying that like they're directly on the take, but it's a problem, man. Incentives are all fucked up. Not enough people get fired in Washington, D.C. More people need to get fired. That's why these primaries are important. These incumbents, they need to be afraid for their jobs. They need to be afraid of us electorally. You're not allowed to have a free ride anymore. You know, this isn't like the time where everybody's like at home watching Seinfeld in their like 2-bedroom house that they got from like a decent job. Those days are over. That system no longer works. We've proved it over and over and over again. At the cost and pain of millions of lives, literally. We have continued to marginalize the most marginalized in society and exploit their pain for profit. And everybody is fucking sick of it. Yeah, what did happen here? 7,000 write-in votes. That's crazy. I'm wondering if there's not something fishy going on. I mean, they always do shady shit to win elections. I was just talking about it earlier when I was talking about Luigi. I was talking to Luigi. But I mean, somebody had to have told him to write somebody in. I think Wisconsin's an open primary too, much like Michigan. I'm glad to see Peggy Flanagan won though. Angie Craig sucks. We went 1 for 2 last night. Not bad, 50%. You really only need to make, I mean, oh, it's not an open primary? What do you think happened then? Oh, we have our guest coming on now. All right, I'm waxing philosophical, everybody, so. You're not going to have to listen to me go on. We actually have an awesome guest. I'm going to tee up her YouTube video because Eliana Constanza Eliana. Very, very talented journalist, debater. You've seen her multiple places, multiple mediums. I'm going to get this intro wound up. She's going to be hopping on stream to talk about her latest piece of work. Please, everybody, this is an criminally undersubscribed to YouTube. It's open? It is open, Nick. Okay, thank you. Everybody go drop a follow and a subscription to Eliana and watch her latest video about the grocery stores in New York City that Zoran, she's going to come and explain them to me. Here we go. Mamdani Markets.
Mayor Zoran Mamdani of New York City has launched city-run grocery stores.
Can we all see?
We have the dangerous communist grocery store. But actually, we've found that it is not dangerous. Actually, Eliana did a great explainer on all this, and that's why I invited her on to talk. If you can put some, show some love to this YouTube video. Let's see how it's performing. All right, we got to get some more views on this. Let's get it up, people. Also, we have a YouTube page. if you're looking at us on YouTube, we just posted a video today. It's like a short history of state surveillance. Um, it's pretty crazy. We had a guy who does a lot of work with. He does a lot of policy work. He works in Washington D.C. He works for an organization called Demand Progress. So he's been in the privacy game, fighting back against stuff like the Patriot Act, stuff that's been taking away our civil liberties, and most of us don't even know about it. So we posted a quick YouTube. It's like 5 minutes. Go show it some love for all you YouTube subscribers. No, not only do local stores not really care. I'm gonna have Eliana explain this to you, but part of the reason why we need these city-run grocery stores is because they're in food deserts. So, like, yeah, no, I'll ask that question. Don't worry about it, Vampy. Uh, if you want to ask questions of our guest, Vampy just did it the right way, which is he came on Twitch. That's what we love to see. If you're on Instagram, we got a heavy hitting real journalist, Eliana Shanea, coming on. She's going to be talking about city run grocery stores in New York City. You have to support independent media if you want to help us out of this mess. If you want to support me, if you want to support the Party Crashers, it's kind of like a pirate ship. We all get shares and it's fun. But yeah, you can subscribe. If you have Amazon Prime, you can actually gift a subscription to somebody. I don't have Amazon. I unsubscribed when I mean, I've kind of known Jeff Bezos was evil, but like, I'm not gonna lie, Amazon Prime is pretty convenient. Actually, it's an essential service to people that live in underserved communities too, especially in rural areas. So no judgment if you can't boycott, but if you can't boycott, do it. And if you do have Prime, though, make sure you're using your Prime subscription on Twitch to do a sub. And you could do it on our channel if you really like us. And if you don't, I completely understand. But Eliana Shanea, everybody. She's coming on. So that means, one sec, I'm gonna give you a good intro, my friend. We have Constanza Eliana, one half of the Political Pendejas podcast, accomplished journalist for outlets like Young Turks, featured in some of the highest places that you can go. She's dynamite. I'm not going to, no more. Are you on stage now? You're on stage. Let's go. Hang on a second. Okay, good. What's up?
What's up? Hi. What a great intro.
I always give the best intros. like I really realized that we just like made this whole thing so that people, like smart people like you, could come on and explain stuff to people like me, aka our audience, just normal people. But I do have a gift, and that is hyping people up.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us.
Of course.
We were talking earlier about all sorts of stuff, but I saved the I was just going over the video with everybody, and we were talking about city-run grocery stores, and I said, everybody just wait for our guests. All right, and now you're here.
Yes.
So I watched the video. Everybody, I dropped a link in our channel here, and I will be sure to include it in our clips. But yeah, you did the Mamdani markets.
Mayor Zoran Mamdani.
That's I don't know if that's I don't know how to do it so that it's just the video but not freeze frame. But anyways, this is your YouTube. Tell me what you found out about this city-run grocery store story.
Yeah, super fascinating that he was able to get this done in a time of severe McCarthyist 2.0 era. I feel he's definitely, I feel like city-run grocery stores are being presented as communist style, socialist, they always conflate communism and socialists together. And I feel It really is just kind of common sense. If the
Mm-hmm.
market is not serving the needs of all of the people, like the free market that the capitalists love to present, then it only makes sense that the government that you pay taxes to should step in and provide that to you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
something that I didn't include in this video that somebody else pointed out to me recently is that the military already does this for people who are serving. They
Oh
do
yeah.
this, yeah, they do this abroad. So basically, people who are serving in the military and their spouses and families are able to go and get food at discounted rates. And Republicans aren't screaming communism.
No, they never do when it comes to. And yeah, no, it's funny. That was what I was actually just talking about earlier. Is
Yeah,
how they never scream about inflation when they're asking for $1.5 trillion for the military, right? They never.
correct.
So yeah, they have this basically this concept of like a grocery store on a base, so
Yeah.
that a family can go and get a grocery because obviously, like you know how much a soldier is making, so like they can't go
Mhm.
to like a Walmart in Germany and pay full price because they're only making like $20,000 a year to. So
Correct.
okay, so we know this concept works already, is what you're
The
saying.
concept works. It's been working for a long time. I think where it has failed, because there's
Keep
only
going.
been like two instances that I saw where it quote unquote has failed, is because they were not operated properly. So I seriously doubt that Mamdani is like going to be so incompetent that he's not going to put in the right people to like, handle the operations. He's an incredibly smart person, so I'm sure that whoever he's hired to like manage all of this is going to do a fantastic job. And so, if you want, we can go into the criticisms of it, but basically I just thought that was like a really important thing to state, is that this has worked and is currently working for people who are in the military who already receive a lot of social services, in exchange for fighting for the empire, but that's a whole other story. But
Yeah, right. Exactly.
and Republicans love, their military. They love to call that, a patriotic act, and we have to take care of our current soldiers and our veterans with all of these social services. But yet, when somebody wants to do it for their constituents and make sure that people can actually afford to buy groceries, all of a sudden that's communist and scary, and it just wants to kill the free market and wants to dunk on small businesses and independently run bodegas, and like that is so beyond what's actually happening.
Well, that was like one of the things. I'm pulling up the comment. I screenshotted it and then oh yeah, okay. So one of our community members Vampy Kato, which I love reading names of people's screen names because it's like they always have like amazing questions, but the name is so whimsical. But the question was, I wanted to know how to counter the talking points about how local stores are not going to like this. And you did a really
No,
good job
yeah.
of addressing in the video. So, why are local stores not concerned about this?
Yeah, and I think the people who are concerned about it are business owners, but they're the ones that are owning like franchises, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw on Fox News that there was a guy who had come in and said, this is going to tank all small independent run grocery stores. And it ended up that he owned a bunch of franchises. So it's like, okay, so you have a vested interest in making sure that, because franchises, typically the people who own them just want to monopolize the market, right? So
Mm.
that tends to be the general argument. So in the video, I'm sure you heard that I said, he's starting with 5. Right now, there's only like 1 or 2 open.
One per borough, right?
Yes, 1 per borough, and he's only opened 1, I believe. Next year, they're going to open the rest. There are 13,000 bodegas and grocery stores in New York City. So 5 city-run grocery stores are not going to tank the
Yeah.
overall situation, right? Like that's not what's actually going to happen. And these Mamdani's markets is what I like to call them. They are being placed in areas that actually really need them. They're not being placed in affluent areas, right? Like they're not being placed in neighborhoods that are already fulfilled with staple foods, right? These are going to be communities that actually are going to be served by these city run grocery stores that the market is, there's a gap for it because typically they want to be in more affluent situations so that they can up their profits. So I think that's one way to talk about it is like the math does not math if you're taking a look at that.
Yeah, no, that's like, see, there's 13,000 grocery store. Those are the 5 boroughs. I don't know how many people live in New York, but like 15 million, 10 million, like
something.
So you're talking about one store per each of those areas. And, like this is a pilot, right? Like you don't make 100 episodes of a TV show. You shoot like a pilot, right? Like one, and then you see how it goes, and then you learn something. It's like a case study. Which is also ironic. You can tell how fucked this entire argument is on their side because like literally all of them hire McKinsey for $5,000 an hour, management consultants, so that they can learn the most profitable way to wipe their asses. So like they know exactly what a case study is. They know exactly what a pilot is. They know exactly what he's doing, and they're afraid it will work, right?
Yeah.
And they're afraid people will like it. And my whole entire argument about this particular pilot and just in general is that socialism is going to perform in polls in purple states the same way that the word Trump will, which is it will be underreported because people will be afraid to say I like socialism on the phone with a stranger the same way they say I like Trump. And I think that you're going to see electorally it overperforms because everybody is hurting right now.
Yes, I absolutely think this is 100% political. And that's the bottom line with propaganda is that it always boils down to who wants to manipulate the narrative in their favor. So what conservatives and capitalists, because we have to be very clear that capitalists are the ones that are really pushing this propaganda. Because as we have seen, there's a faction in the Democratic Party that wants to get away from socialism and reinstate their allegiance to capitalism. So they are also not happy about these city-run grocery stores. So this is not a party thing, although it is very much, Republicans are kind of leading the march on this. But it is politically motivated because people want obviously Republicans say that they want smaller government. They don't want the government to like fuck with their shit. We've seen how that's not exactly true, right? Like they love having government control people's bodies and lives. But that's going to be their argument on the capitalists of the left. Their argument is very much they want these socialist, social forward policies to fail because then they can continue with the narrative that we should be voting for moderates, we should be voting for centrists who are not going to, present grocery stores that are going to kill small businesses, right? That is also a manipulation tactic. So I think, with other places that have tried to have city-run grocery stores done before and have failed, one, they've tried to do it in smaller areas, right? Like the economics have to make sense as well. So I think that, Zoran doing it in New York City is perfect, right? It's a huge city. The economics are, massive. I would say somewhere like Los Angeles would also benefit from something like this. Chicago could also benefit from something like this. Like the bigger cities are going to really should be the test runs for a lot of the stuff because they're going to be able to absorb whatever isn't going to work, and they're going to be able to experiment a lot more and a lot easier than somewhere in Timbuktu, Indiana, that doesn't have that same amount of leeway to test out what works, what doesn't work. How much can we reduce the prices versus where do we need to like, be right around the same as other grocery stores. That's one. And
Uh,
then two, oh yeah, go ahead.
no, after you too.
So then two, I think that, this there's also something to be said about how capitalists don't want you to remember that they are inflating prices. So they want this to fail for that reason as well, right? Like we've seen how Whole Foods has gotten sued by consumers because of overly inflated prices. Typically, your margins at a grocery store are going to be pretty thin, right? Like they're going to be pretty minor. But grocery stores like Whole Foods, who market themselves off of, we're bringing in organic, whole foods, things that have less
Yeah.
pesticides or no pesticides, local groceries that, if you don't have a farmer's market near you, like we're going to be your farmer's market. So local foods as well. They market on all of this so that you will pay more, you will pay higher rates. And they have gotten sued for this before, at least on the Whole Food side. Places like in LA, we have Erewhon. Those are marketing grocery stores that are branded to be like, you're not going to find this kind of strawberry anywhere else. So we can charge you $20 per carton instead of the $6.99. Yeah, that you're paying at another grocery store, right? So they don't like these city-run grocery stores because one, you're already paying 30% less than for staple foods than you are at a typical grocery store. So then now these capitalistic franchise grocery stores are going to have to contend with the fact that the public now knows, damn, I am hella overpaying for this food that I can already barely afford. So they also have a vested interest in making sure that these fail for that reason.
Yeah, no hate to rural America either, but like I think that what a lot of people haven't begun to understand is that like as demos continue to shift, like these towns, like we're in the Midwest, right? I'm in Chicago. So like basically there's like Chicago and then there's like Detroit and Cleveland and Milwaukee and Madison where I just was. And these are like big, they're like, Chicago's the biggest, but they're like cities. They feel like cities, like different vibes. But like in between, there are all these towns where it's like there used to be people, there used to be jobs, there used to be farms, but now it's like all of the young people move away. They go to a city. So like if we can't make cities work, none of it's going to work. And another important thing is that Kat Abu Ghazaleh created the mutual aid hub in her campaign office. So, and since I was doing like comedy stuff, volunteering for her, I saw that work firsthand. And it wasn't just people that needed a leg up that were taking advantage of it or, that needed to, that were excited to help other people. Like it was people bringing things every day. It was people coming in every day. It was like, I just heard a story from somebody who's involved with Kapow. They were saying that like, this guy came in and he tried on this coat and it was like this really nice coat someone had donated and somebody said, yeah, you should take it. And they're like, wait, what? Like, you don't want any money for this? And they're like, no, this is the whole point of it. You need a coat and like, you can grab it. And then he came back and brought 2 brand new pairs of shoes that like, that were like brand new. And it was like somebody needed shoes and they're like, whoa, and it's like, that's how you undermine everything. That sucks. You create shit. That's why I think Zoran understands that the whole point of politics is to create a version of the future that you want to live in, not reject a version of the future that's built on the past, like a past that never existed. Like Trump's version of reality is like, it's total bullshit, which we all know. Everybody tells us incessantly. But the Democrats' entire thesis statement is like, well, we know that doesn't work, but wasn't the 90s fun? It's like, no, fucker, it wasn't. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun for a lot of people. And it's not fun for everyone now because of the policies that you instated in the 90s. So it's like we have to try something different. Yeah. Old farts. Sorry, not to make it ageist and like generational, but like honestly, like the largest transfer of wealth that's about to happen is going to be between the boomers and
Mhm.
and the 1% is basically of the boomers are just gonna like give it to their
Yes.
kids.
No, and I think you make a really, really good point. People have to remember that the entire point of social policies, or some people might like to equate it to socialism as like a structure, a government structure. The entire point of these things is to get the general public out of a rut, right? Out of an economic situation. So if you look at the only president that has ever, like, after the fact been accused of being a socialist, I believe it was FDR, right? Or am I thinking of the other guy?
No, it's FDR.
It was FDR. So he gets accused of that a lot because of the social services that he created, right? And that was specifically to get the general public out of a bad economic situation. And then those programs didn't all need to continue to exist, right? Because then people were able to start their own businesses. They were able to get their kids into, schools that were fully funded, right? More libraries were built. I can't remember like all of the things that he was able to accomplish, but not every social policy that he created exists today because it doesn't need to exist today, right? But right now we're in a situation where they are needed. Like city-run grocery stores are needed.
And actually, to be fair,
Yeah.
it worked for white people. A lot of
Yes.
New Deal did miss, and I know that you know that. I tend to forget it, but yeah, the New Deal was a sweeping, successful, powerful thing, and it's important to remember that Truman was the one who desegregated the armed forces, not Roosevelt. It was still segregated. I mean, there was still segregation everywhere, and it included in how. But I think it's important too that the cool thing about the New Deal, and this is what I was telling you about offline, is that there's this book about this guy John Maynard Keynes, who was Milton Friedman is an economist who was like free market this. He was like the Reaganomics economist, but
yeah,
this Keynes guy wrote this book, or he basically argued that if the government spends money and invests in people, if the government spends $1 to help us get a job, it's the productivity and profit is gonna be 4 times as much because I'm gonna spend that money. That money is then going to be spent by somebody who I spent it with. So like, and honestly, that's what happens. Like the government just spends money. That's what like their whole thing is. They just like print money for shit that we need to provide. And so the Republicans are always trying to like say spend less, and then they spend more on the shit they care about. And the Democrats are always like, well, we don't want to look like we're bad at spending. And also, can we spend it on what we want, which is like the things we agree on, like crypto. Some Jordan brand.
yeah.
So, like, and like that's the thing is that the New Deal, like a lot of that stuff was phased out, but we're gonna need it again because there was like the Tennessee Valley Authority, which gave a ton of jobs to people in public works so that they could like build dams and stuff like that. There was an artist program, like Jackson Pollock got paid by the government to paint signs. That's how he got a lot of his art supplies. Like he stole them from, which is great. I mean, I'm cool with that. Steal art supplies. But yeah, no, like a lot of the things that created the wealth that the boomers are now, like not boomers, like everybody, the people are now hoarding is a result of socialism. And
exactly, those socialist policies, exactly.
And every time, this is what I find so fucking ironic because we're talking about New York City here, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about Wall Street, and it's like, all these guys were like, yeah, we're like hyper capitalists. It's like, hey, dickhead. You like New York? Yeah, it's better than every other city in America, which it's not. It's a great city. And I'm not saying that any city is better than another. I'm just saying that all cities are great for different reasons. But you fly into LaGuardia, and he was an openly socialist person. Like FDR never identified as a socialist. He always identified as a Democrat. But Fiora LaGuardia, that's the name of the airport.
Yep.
So shove it up your ass, Wall Street. Sorry, I'm not as eloquent, but the irony is never lost on me.
Yeah, no, there's so many things. And this is like, again, the failure of our fucked up education system is that so many of these people who critique these types of things are just simply so freaking uneducated about our history. They're so uneducated about how things work and operate. A lot of people don't know that like these are things that already exist in other countries that are not quote unquote third world, and we can talk about the racism of that term later. These are, you know, Western northern countries that have socialist policies that actually benefit the public. And yes, they have high taxes, but those high taxes are being spent on social forward policies.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that like if you are talking to somebody, even if they're a Democrat and they're like, this is never going to work, he's just going to end up spending taxpayer money, and it's, you know, going to close down in 2 to 5 years anyway. I think the best way to rebuke that is to say not all social policies need to last forever, but two, these are things that, you know, we pay the government taxes to. If there is a need for something like a library, yeah, you're going to spend several $1 million to build up that library as a social service to the people who need the fucking library. Does that mean it's like a failure or a market, whatever, because you know, the library, we spend like, you know, $5 million every year on the library, and, you know, not that many people use it? Not necessarily, right? Like, it doesn't mean that it's a failure. It just means it is fulfilling a need. Maybe this year only 100,000 people visit the library. Next year, it could be 2 million people that visit the library. It just depends on the fluctuation of what the fuck is going on in your city and in your town at that given time. And I think we have to understand that, like, that's the role of the government that you pay taxes to, is so that they can step in when shit hits the fan and you need a service that you no longer have.
That's the thing. Francesca Hong made the best argument I've ever heard for socialism being the most free form. Have we talked about this? Yeah,
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, have we?
You nodded your head first, and I was like, I don't know. But she ran a great race. I always say that candidates like that can't lose because they've already shifted the Overton window so far and wasted the
and she
enemy's
essentially
resources.
tied. I don't know why people keep saying, like, technically she lost, because that's how this current, you know, that election works. Like, there is a winner and a loser, but she essentially tied. I don't see that as a loss.
And that's why, like, yeah, neither do I. It's an insurgency. Like, you waste
Exactly.
the enemy's times, resources, and you've exposed a whole other population of people to how things could be. So, like, I mean, technically, Abdul El Sayed lost the governor's race in 2016. But it's like, I don't know who he ran against. I mean, I think I do.
Yeah.
But now she's hawking data centers, and look where he is. Like,
Right.
it all takes time. No, John, Jesus was a socialist for sure. Sorry, man. You can stay, though. Why would you ever associate something as evil as socialism and communism with Jesusism? I have no idea. I can't tell if you're trolling right now. If you are, it's hilarious. If not, wait, hang on a second. It's a guy in a pickup truck selfie with a lanyard. He's definitely being sincere right now. John, Jesus was a socialist, my friend. 300 million in the name of socialism and communism. Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually do kind of like this.
This is a really good point. This is a really good point that I want to speak to, because this is the counter narrative, right? Like, socialism kills, communism kills, it like keeps people in poverty, blah, blah, blah. What he is referring to, I'm assuming it's a he, is that
usually safe.
Those were authoritarian, totalitarian governments. They were not social democracies or democratic socialism, right? And so we have to be like again, this is a political propaganda talking point that we're just going to be like Germany, 1940s Germany, right? Like, we're just going to be like Italy, 1940s Italy. Those places were not technically communist, and they were not technically socialist if you actually take a look on paper. And what we can also say about our current government is that it is also not technically a democracy. It is a partial democracy. We currently have a government that is not fully democratic, and yet we continue to espouse ourselves as a fully democratic society. So if you're going to make that your counterpoint of like, well, look at what happened in the past, then you have to be very clear and specific about what past you're talking about, because a
And
party
who wrote the
can
book?
and a party can
Well-
call itself socialist but not enact socialist policies once they are actually in power, which is what happened in Germany in the 1940s and what happened in Italy in the 1940s.
Yeah. No, there's no such thing as social democracy. No, John, I don't need to see the historical numbers because I know what the historical numbers are. In fact, we've read the books about it, and we know who you're referencing because you sound exactly like the shit we see online all the time. So if you have an actual hypothesis to offer the conversation, then by all means, go ahead. Socialism is merely the stepping stone for communism. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. I'm actually surprised you know how to spell Ilyich. I am impressed by that. Italy was fascism, but they marketed it as National Socialism the same way that Trump did, dingus. Don't you understand? That's what they do. It's a Trojan horse. They talk about cheap groceries and affordability and housing, and then they blame it on poor people. That's what they do in order to be fascists. That's why Eliana said, and somebody pointed out from Twitch, that Nazi is a conjunction of the word national and socialism. That's what everybody wants, these policies. There are people that use them for genocidal ends, which is what you're referencing.
And we're seeing that play out right now because people are utilizing quote unquote democracy as a means to fascist policies. That's what we are currently experiencing in real time. That's why ICE is in the streets. That's why the National Guard keeps getting called out to democratic cities or quote unquote blue cities. That's why the Marines were, placed in, cities like mine in Los Angeles in order to suppress the protests, which is a First Amendment right. That is fascism. And we are not a socialist country. We are a capitalist country. So if you're going to claim that, oh yeah, socialism bad, capitalism good, I'm not currently experiencing good capitalism. I don't know anyone who is experiencing good capitalism unless your name is Elon Musk. So we have to,
if we experience capitalism, why did they bail out the banks? Why do they always bail out the capitalists that are always the strongest proponents of capitalists? If
I actually, there's a debate that's going to be coming out on Sunday that I did with somebody who was involved in Occupy Wall Street in 2000 and what year was that? 8 or 9?
Yeah.
That's the entire point that I was making is like that Occupy Wall Street was like the first time in my generation, because obviously Gen Z was not like around back then, but my generation where
I was there. I was there too. I didn't go. Yeah,
maybe Gen Zs.
Yeah, I know. There's so many.
Maybe they were being conceived.
Oh wait, hang on a second. Can we just jump in here? My IQ is 10 times higher than your rudimentary, paid for, brain dead, brainwashed, cookie cutter bullshit. Okay. Well, first of all, John, IQ is racist, but you don't know what. And second of all, if your IQ was 10 times higher than my IQ, your IQ would be higher than Einstein. So I think you don't understand how multipliers work. But let me tell you something, my friend. You're doing a lot of heavy lifting with light equipment, and I appreciate the passion. We just need to redirect that energy into something that doesn't sound like something someone would say while they were doing blow at an Applebee's.
Oh my gosh.
Tuesday night.
You're
anyway.
going to die. I'm going to step off for like 2 seconds to grab a book. You're going to die. Since we're talking about IQ, right?
Yeah.
IQ? Okay, hold on.
I'm talking about IQ.
Okay, I'm back.
What book do we got?
We might need to Google this. What was Einstein's IQ set to be? Do we know?
Like 180?
It was one of the highest ever recorded, right?
Yeah.
He might have gotten beat in the last couple decades, but pretty sure he's still one of the highest IQ, right? So since we're talking about IQ,
around 160,
which is up there, right? Like that's about the highest you can go, or is it 180?
I don't know. Let's see who the highest IQ is. Somebody sent me Somebody sent me a text. They're like, "Did you hear what happened to Jeff?" And I really care about somebody named Jeff, like a couple people. And oh, she had a 228. Holy shit.
Oh wow,
Um,
that's really high. Okay, so anyway, he was up there. Like he's anytime you call somebody oh, Einstein, you're basically calling them really smart, right?
mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm teasing this for a long time. Here you go. Einstein wrote an article advocating for he advocated for socialism, and he titled it. It was in a socialist magazine, and his essay was titled "Why Socialism." Einstein.
Oh, John, do you have a higher IQ than Einstein?
Shall we read a little excerpt from
Yeah,
Einstein?
John.
Actual
John's a
Einstein?
custom carpenter, which is actually really good work. That's like a tough job. That's cool, man. But here's the thing. You got your own truck. You work when you want. You charge what you want. That is not free market capitalism. That is capitalism. And free market capitalism is when Home Depot creates your job and does it 10 times cheaper. And you get bought out by TaskRabbit, and somebody does what you do, what you've trained your whole life to do, and now it's outsourced to the lowest bidder so that they can maximize profits, or private equity buys your business and destroys it. That's what free market capitalism is, my friend. Anyways, Eliana, please cook.
Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, even though it's really, really short. It literally was just a very quick essay on, I believe the magazine was called The Monthly Review, and it was a socialist magazine. So definitely fact check this. Never just trust what somebody says online, unlike what this guy wants you to do.
Yeah.
So here we go. Here's just a quick excerpt. Something that while I was reading it, I really liked. The economic anarchy of capitalist society as it exists today is, in my opinion, the real source of the evil. We see before us a huge community of producers, the members of which are unceasingly striving to deprive each other of the fruits of their collective labor, not by force, but on the whole in faithful compliance with legally established rules. In this respect, it is important to realize that the means of production, that is to say, the entire productive capacity that is needed for producing consumer goods as well as additional capital goods, may legally be, and for the most part are, the private property of individuals. For the sake of simplicity, in the discussion that follows, I shall call workers, quote unquote, all those who do not share in the ownership of the means of production, although this does not quite correspond to the customary use of the term. The owner of the means of production is in a position to purchase the labor power of the worker. We are experiencing that currently. New goods, the worker produces new goods which become the property of the capitalist. That is capitalism. The worker does the production, but doesn't own the production. Therefore, he does not own the profits. He does not get to keep the profits. There's no profit share.
Yeah,
So
it sounds
anyway.
like John's a socialist because he's got. I banned him because he started saying some shit about like violence and stuff, which was not
my
cool.
goodness.
But that guy was in here. He sounded
Evil.
like Sean Hannity with a pickup truck, and
this is the thing is like we have to understand again historics. Like if you are going to base your political beliefs on an ideology that you do not understand the historical context of, then yes, you are going to talk like that crazy weirdo who thinks he has a higher IQ than both of us combined. And yet the man who literally is like the poster boy for high IQ and being really smart advocated for socialism in his time.
Dang, that was a hella like build up. That was so good. I fucked it up because I tried to be smarter and being like, I don't know if he had the highest IQ, but when we cut it, it's gonna make it look like way better of a reveal. That is such a good mic drop. It's so true though. Like people, you know, I always say like when it comes to like emotional stuff, like be curious, not judgmental. Like, be curious about stuff. Don't like think you know like what anybody's going through or whatever. Just be curious, not
Yeah,
judgmental. Like, don't make up your decision until you get all the facts and the evidence. And like, you can
exactly.
really you can really tell that we've had smartphones for like the better part of 15 years because it seems like everybody is judgmental and not curious at all. And
Yes.
everybody's
No,
like, I
I
know what this
totally
word
agree.
means. And they have a little
Hmm.
tweet that they heard from a tweet that went viral, and it's like that's what they're throwing in the chat. And that's part of the
Yeah.
reason why I'm doing this is because like I want to have conversations with people, and I want to have conversations with people like in the chat.
Hmm.
Like, um, I got to run, but we're coming up on 2 hours. But
Yeah.
this was always a fantastic. It's always great to have you.
Thanks. I love coming on.
It's so much fun, and I'm gonna have our mutual friend like chop up the Einstein thing because and we'll definitely chop up a little teaser for the full YouTube video, which I'm gonna drop in the comments one more time. If you haven't seen Eliana's video, it's really good.
Yeah.
It really does. It does. The reason why I suggest people watch this is because you're clearly somebody who respects their audience's time, which I think is huge. But like, you take a very complicated topic and break it down in 10 minutes, and it is all from the point of view of the counter argument, like, which is like,
Yeah.
well, will this hurt local business owners? No, actually, in fact, these are not profitable neighbors. Anyways, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You work so hard, but it's great. It's a great resource. It's a really good one to send to people that watch Fox News. Eliana, what else do we need to keep an eye out for? Your Substack,
um
obviously.
Yeah, so I'm back on YouTube. So that video that we were just talking about that you just linked, that was my first one back. I took about a month break. So I'm back. So I always post my videos on YouTube and Substack. So if people want to follow me on both of those, they're welcome to do so. And yeah, I think it's just now is really like the time to be talking about these things because progressives right now, like true progressives, not the ones who are just using it as a marketing tactic, true progressives are under attack from both sides. And it is definitely a time to be talking about why those attacks appear and not just, be like willfully ignorant about everything that's going on. And there is nuance to these attacks, right? The reason Republicans are attacking progressives is different than the reasons that the capitalist establishment Democrats are attacking progressives. They have two different agendas, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it all has to do with power. Who wants power? Who's going to sustain that power? Right now, progressives don't have the power. But what we're seeing in Mamdani's New York is that he has been able to bust through the establishment brick wall and has been massively successful in executing a lot of the things that he said he was going to do. There is definitely things that he has not accomplished that he promised to do, but he has time to get it done. And then if he doesn't get it done, we can critique that as well. Like, we don't need to celebritize a politician just because he's, has been able to accomplish a bunch of things that, centrist Democrats would never even try to accomplish anyway. But we also have to be very clear about why it's super, super important that we not devolve into this theory of, well, progressives are never going to succeed, or progressives are idealistic and they're just going off of vibes, right? Like, that is also not true. And
No,
we
not at
have
all.
to continue to push that narrative and also understand that right now we are in McCarthyism 2.0. This is Trumpism.
100%. Yeah.
100% Trumpism, and it is kind of seeping through the establishment capitalist Democratic Party, and so that's super, super important for us to be aware of too. So anyway, yes, I'm back on YouTube, back on Substack.
Back on YouTube, back on Substack. I actually just dropped a link to your latest Substack about
Thanks.
career journalists. Yeah, no, I'm gonna definitely read this because we've been doing a lot of work about FISA. We just did a thing with somebody from Demand Progress, one of our mutual
Yeah.
friends. All right, we're gonna call it a day. Thank you so much for joining. Share this link with your friends, for God's sake. And then Eliana will wrap it up, and you can hang out for a minute.